It's named after them, basically, are bad guys.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Ari Lewis Show here on Israel Sports and News Radio and the YouTube channel, The Nation of Israel. I don't know if this will be uploaded to YouTube. We're going to try to be nice to YouTube and not talk about the you-know-what. Basically, maybe we'll hint some things. We're going to talk about something else instead with a repeat guest, Rabbi Hanani Weissman. He's been on the program before, and it's great to have you on again.
Yes, thanks. Great
it is
to be back.
Beautiful view, sun is setting. I know Jerusalem and Israel has its problems, but what a beautiful sight, and we're happy to be here. This episode, the main focus is going to be a crisis we like to call the Shadchan crisis, not the Shidduch crisis. You want to elaborate the difference on that?
Well, I mean, people discuss different terms. I don't think it's a crisis per se with the Shadchanim either. By the way, it means matchmakers. I would say that matchmakers tend to be very bad at what they do. I think the crisis is that there's never been a greater reliance on matchmaking in Jewish history. They've never had more dominance over the world of dating, and at the same time, I don't know of any other time in Jewish history when it has been as difficult as it is now for singles to get married. And people don't want to draw any connection between the two. It might be, I mean, it might not be. There may be other factors involved, and I believe there are. But if we are relying on matchmakers more than ever in our history, and singles are having a more difficult time than ever in our history, maybe they have something to do with one another.
You know, this is a theory. We're going to get, obviously, a lot of details, get into details about a lot of this situation. Very complex. But here's, first of all, the theory regarding why the Shidduch system does not work in the mono-Orthodox world, this traditional standard system. Okay, but it very well could work in the Haredi world. You might disagree.
Well, I don't even like all these labels. I think the labels are part of the problem.
Okay.
I don't think it works well anywhere. I mean, some segments of the Jewish world rely more on Shadchanim than others. I don't think the system really works very well anyway. Some people are going to get married regardless of what you do. But overall, if we're looking at a total picture, more singles are having more problems and difficulties than ever before. There's more misery, there's more fear, there's more angst, there's more broken marriages. Even the ones that do successfully marry, those marriages often are full of shalom bayis issues, and they often end poorly. So the whole system is just not working very well.
So first, I want to explain why, my theory, why the reason why the system does not work well. There's actually a lot of layers. But let's say you take two 18-year-olds, put them together. What the Shidduch system will focus on is external things. Their last name, right? What family they come from, what they look like, different things, because scientifically the brain is still developing at least until 25. So you don't have to worry about internal characteristics so much. Put the 18-year-olds together, they're going to grow together anyway. If it works, great, great. The problem in the modern Orthodox world is, let's say you have two 40-year-olds get together and they're focused on external things, but not internal things, like their characteristics, their value system, things they develop. Like me personally, one of my strongest values is, despite what I've been through in this country, I have not left this country in over 12 years, and I don't want to leave ever again. That's a value that I've developed. So if a Shadchan says, give up that value. If you got to go to America to get married, get married. No, you didn't hear what I said. I said that's not happening. So talk about that aspect first, that the values are not being respected by the people in the Shidduch system.
So I'll say kind of half seriously, I'll talk about the values in a minute, but I want to talk about the last thing you said. Sort of half seriously, if you want a Shadchan to be effective for you, it might be advisable to tell them the opposite of what you're looking for. I'm serious. I'm really serious, because they always give you the opposite of what you are looking for, and then they try to talk you into it. So maybe try the opposite approach. Tell them you're looking for somebody who's very old and very sick and has no money and has a terrible personality and hates walks on the beach and has no sense of humor. And
doesn't want to live in Israel.
Right. Tell them the exact opposite of what works for the BDS movement. Seriously, so well, come on, you could settle on that. I got this nice girl, and so what if she loves Israel? Right? I mean, it might actually work better. Look, I'll tell you an anecdote. I've never asked anybody in my life to fix me up. Now, Shadchanim have come to me. People have offered. I've never asked anybody. So I had an experience once with somebody who was becoming a matchmaker, and he was friendly with me and wanted to try to help me. So I gave him 4 or 5 real bullet points, very focused things. These are my absolute deal breakers. It's not really important what they are, but they were absolute deal breakers. And if everybody had a list like mine, there wouldn't be any problems in the single world. It had nothing to do with money or looks or yichus. It was all very focused, value-oriented things. So one of them was that the girl has to be in Israel. I'm living in Israel. I think it's reasonable. We have 7 million Jews living in Israel. She could very reasonably be here. We don't have to look at the other side of the world. Let's first, look at all the options here, and then we'll look at the other side of the world.
40% of the Jewish world lives in this country, over 40%. So there's people here.
Yeah, right. So
Jews here.
Right. So let's first focus on this half, and then we'll look at the other half. Right. So the first, he sends me a profile, which I'm totally against anyway. But he sends me a profile. What do you think of this young woman?
Wait, hold on. Why are you against profiles? You don't want to see what she looks like?
That's a long Let's get to that next.
Okay, we'll get to that.
There is a lot to talk about.
There's
a lot to talk about.
All right.
So he sends me a profile of a young woman who lives in the States, and no.
After you said not that.
Correct, and it wasn't clear at all that she intends to live in Israel, wants to live in Israel. So I'm like, what is this, right? He says, oh yeah, I only want somebody who lives in Israel. So he says, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't have my notes with me. Okay, so I gave him a free pass on that. Fine, he was friendly. Next, he tries somebody who does in fact live in Israel, but she was well beyond the upper age limit that I had set. Okay. And didn't dress modestly, didn't seem to be an appropriate match for me. I mean, yeah, probably a very nice person, but wasn't an appropriate match for me on any level. I'm like, what are you thinking? Like, she's way beyond the age that I would consider. That was a hard deal breaker. And aside from that, it's not like, she's perfect for me, but slightly older than what I may be comfortable with, so give it a try. It was like, it just didn't make any sense. So he got very offended, and I said, look, this is the second time in a row that I gave you a very short and clear list of absolute deal breakers, and it's the second time in a row that you don't seem to be paying any attention to it. You just seem to be sending me random profiles. I said, you frankly need to do better. And he was very upset. Like I was daring to criticize him. A single is not allowed to criticize a matchmaker. You have to have total respect and reverence for the matchmaker because they hold the key to your destiny. And he was livid with me. We had a little bit of a back and forth. And then he said, everybody appreciates me except for you. Everybo's so grateful except for you. Wow. All that whole speech. And then he sent me 2 voice messages filled with obscenities and abusiveness, like real F words, really nasty stuff, insulting me, attacking me, really. And you could hear the rage in his voice. And this is somebody who's a sociopath. This is not somebody who should be involved in the personal lives of singles. This is not somebody who isn't just, not competent at what he does and is not paying attention, but somebody who clearly has emotional issues. And I think many Shadchanim are like that. They're basically bullies who like to be involved in people's personal lives. It gives them a sense of dominance and control over other people. People need me. People have to come to me for help, right? People are afraid of me. It appeals to the lower character traits that human beings can have, and I think a lot of Shadchanim have that. If you peel away that thin outer layer, they're really bullies and they're nasty people. Again, not everybody. There might be 1 or 2 good ones out there, but most of them are really just nasty, vicious people, and they will turn on singles. Like they actually don't like singles. They look down on singles, and they have contempt for them. And if you don't like singles, you're probably not going to be able to help them, and even if you do, you're not going to help them in a pleasant way.
So I gave a lecture a few months ago where at the end I dealt with the Shidduch crisis, if you will. I wanted to draw it out to the audience, and I said that part of the problem is sometimes married people and even married rabbis don't respect single people. Do you think that's an accurate thing to say?
Absolutely. It's very easy to look down on single people because they're vulnerable.
Well, okay, so vulnerable. I guess, I don't know if I went more from the vulnerable point of view, more that like you're doing something incorrect, because sometimes people don't get married because of things out of their control, and I think there's maybe an idea that no, you must have done something wrong, which is not always true.
That's absolutely, well, yes, there is that attitude that's very widespread, that if you're single past a certain age, which may vary, I mean, for girls it might be 20, 21 in some communities, or it might be 30, but there's a certain age where if you're single beyond that age, people assume that either you aren't serious about getting married, or you aren't trying hard enough, or you're too picky, or there's something drastically wrong with you. And they don't even entertain seriously the possibility that you may be a perfectly good person, a perfectly good marriage partner, you're doing everything right, you're doing everything as well as you can do it, and you're perfectly fine the way you are, you just haven't met the right person, and through no fault of your own. And people don't entertain that possibility if you're single beyond a certain age. And that's very, very damaging. Look, there are a lot of singles who are going about it the wrong way, who are too picky. And by the way, you should be picky if you're going to spend your life with somebody and build a family with them, but you should be picky about the right things. So there are singles who are picky about the wrong things, and there are singles who don't really want to get married and they're going through the motions of dating anyway. And there are singles who do have issues. There are married people who have issues too. But we shouldn't assume that just because somebody's single, they're doing something wrong, and send singles for coaching and therapy and that kind of thing.
What are some of the wrong things that the singles are focused on, in your opinion?
Well, the things that you mentioned, valuing the values could be off track.
Okay.
Focusing too much on looks, money, and yichus. I mean, looks. You should be physically attracted to your spouse, but people go to crazy extremes with that. Focusing on money, yichus. All of these things might be on a list of things to look for, but they should be very low on the list. The main things on a person's list should be really the values. Do you share common goals and values in life? Not necessarily the same hobbies, but the same things in life that are really important to you in terms of building a home and building a family and being partners together. Those things you really must have in common. And you should also like spending time together, because if you're going to get married, ideally you're going to spend a lot of time together and talking to each other, so you should enjoy that aspect as well. Everything else beyond that is not really important.
Again, this is the Ari Lewis Show here on IsraelSportsandNewsRadio.com, also on the YouTube channel, The Nation of Israel. Our guest this evening is Hanan Weissman, Rabbi Hanan Weissman, and talk about the Shadchan crisis. So let's get to the question now. Why do you not like to look at a profile?
Okay, so profiles did not exist beyond around 2004. I wrote a very long article about this about a year and a half ago before the whole COVID craziness. If you do a Google search by date for Shidduch resume or Shidduch profile, before 2004, I think you're not going to get any results at all. And after 2004, it explodes and you have thousands of results. So around that time, Shidduch profiles started to become a thing. It didn't exist before then. So we think people always did it this way, the way it was always done. It's not so. If you are single over the age of around 40, you grew up in a world that didn't have Shidduch profiles. The singles that are entering the dating pool today, the people in their 20s today, that's all they know. They don't know that there was once a world that didn't have Shidduch profiles. We weren't walking around with a piece of paper, here, this is what I'm looking for.
It's almost like you want to say resume.
A resume, it is a resume, and what job are you applying for? But the fact is, people had pens and paper in earlier times as well, and they didn't get this brilliant idea of writing down a profile of who you are on a piece of paper. There were classified ads in the newspaper where you paid per word or per character. But most people didn't do that. Most people didn't go that route. And the singles who met through friends or met at parties or met through the natural course of life didn't have profiles or resumes. So why did it become a thing all of a sudden around 2004? And the reason is because not the singles wanted it, the matchmakers wanted it. That's also when the matchmakers really consolidated all their power. And it makes life a lot easier for them. They don't want to spend time getting to know a single. They don't want to spend hours meeting the single, having heart-to-heart conversations with them, really talking to them. They just want to see the bullet points, family background, school background, work background, one or two things that you're looking for. How tall are you? That's it. So the Shadchanim are the ones who want the Shidduch profile because it makes life easier for them. They're like flipping baseball cards. And then after the fact, the singles have been talked into it because, yeah, it makes life easier for me too. I don't have to talk to the Shadchan. I don't have to know myself that well either. I can have somebody put down a few Mad Libs adjectives about what I'm looking for. They all sound the same, by the way. I'm looking for somebody who's nice and warm and friendly and good midos and likes Torah and loves mitzvahs and, good sense of humor. It doesn't mean anything. It's boilerplate. It doesn't really mean anything. So they say throw around these adjectives that sound nice, but don't really mean anything. They're all very parav and bland. And it makes life easier for the single because they don't have to know themselves or have these deep conversations. It makes life easier for the Shadchan for sure because they don't have to spend time really getting to know people. And that's why they became popular. But they're actually devastating because the Shadchan can't do the job properly. You can't find a soulmate for somebody if you don't know anything about their soul. What do they know about the person's soul? All they know is how tall they are and what school they went to. It means nothing.
I want to include Tzvi on this because Tzvi and I spoke about this a bit as well. And we say sometimes it feels like that process is like ordering a pizza. I want this type of cheese, and I want this type of crust, and I want maybe an onion here and an onion there. Would you make that equation?
Well, yeah, because also if you look at these resumes, and I've been making fun of them. So I've been written so many articles, I've made fun of these resumes. They're all so stupid. I've never seen a profile. People send me profiles. I've never sent anybody one because I don't have one. People send me profiles either because they want me to check somebody out or they want me to try to fix somebody else up. They think that I'm a Shadchan when I'm not. So I've seen a lot of profiles over the years. I've never seen one that made me say, wow, I would like to get to know this person better. And your profile is a sales pitch. If you're going to have a Shidduch profile, that is your opportunity to make somebody want to know more about you. That's the whole purpose of it, to give them a little taste of who you are and say, wow, that sounds interesting, I'd like to know more. And yet they do just the opposite. They try to be as bland and parav as possible. It's like they're trying to stand out and fit in at the same time. Stand out as how amazing and wonderful they are, and yet also, I'm just like everybody else. Because if you're not just like everybody else, there's probably something wrong with you in the frum world. Like you got to be a cookie cutter, but an exceptional cookie cutter. So all the Shidduch resumes are bland and boring and not really attractive. And if this is what the person is choosing to tell me about themselves, that they're a bland, boring person who thinks they're exceptional and is trying to just fit in, why would I want to take them out and know more about them? They've already told me their sales pitch is very poor. And the joke is also, one other funny thing, and girls do this, I think, more than guys on the Shidduch resumes, is they say, my friends would describe me as whatever. No, yeah, what they're basically saying is, I am this great, amazing, terrific person, but if I say that, it sounds like I'm showing off and I'm arrogant. So I have to say, my friend would say that about me.
That's like the guy who called you on the phone, leaving the profanities, when he was saying, bragging about himself, but saying it wasn't him bragging about himself.
Exactly.
I cannot stand that.
Everybody thinks I'm great, but I'm not going to say I'm great.
Question for Tzvi.
Do you know what I wrote on my J-Swipe profile to make it interesting? To what you were saying, all these things are boring. I put, I'm seeking the DMT experience. DMT is dimethyl. It's a hallucinogen.
Oh, wow.
Without actually taking DMT. And my friend writes to me, I saw your JSwipe profile, and he goes to me, do you think this is going to be a way how to, because he's all into these profiles and stuff. He's like, this is going to be a way how to get your wife. I'm like, well, I'm definitely not going to get somebody boring. I can tell you that much. You're going to have a fun date at least.
Well, what do you think about the concept of admitting a flaw, not on a profile, but maybe up front, kind of test the person? I like doing that myself.
Well, it really depends on the flaw. Look, I would say about myself that if I were to write a shidduch profile, it would be about 1,000 pages long. It would be because I'm a deep person. Right. There's many layers to me. I think every person should be like that. You should be a very thoughtful and deep person, which many aspects to yourself. And really take time to let somebody know who you are. And not every aspect of it is going to be flattering. People make mistakes in life. I have a speech impediment, right? And things that is not necessarily perfect about you. And that's just part of who a person is. And people overcome their difficulties in life and overcome their challenges. There's nothing wrong with that. Frankly, if somebody had a perfect, charmed life, they probably wouldn't be, first of all, they wouldn't want to marry anybody else because nobody else has had that life.
They'd be pretty boring.
They would be a boring person, and they wouldn't be a very good parent because once their kids start having problems, they wouldn't be able to help the kids. And they wouldn't be a good spouse because if your spouse is having a hard time, they wouldn't be able to really be there for you because they don't know what it's like. They wouldn't be able to really connect with that.
I guess, do you feel like that the people in the Shadchan world tried to discourage others from admitting a particular flaw?
Right, because that's the thing. Because there's so much falsehood going on in the shidduch world. Is that people have to put on this fakeness of being perfect in every way. So if you let in that you're not perfect, even though everybody knows nobody's perfect, but if you expose an imperfection, they'll assume it's 1,000 times worse than what it actually is. Because everybody else is perfect. If your picture, and I'm against the pictures too, but if you show a picture that's not gorgeous, then they're going to assume that you're really ugly because everybody has this perfect airbrushed picture, like that one angle in one moment in their life where they look like a 10. If you don't look like a 10 in your picture, then they'll assume that you're really a very bad-looking person because everybody else has that gorgeous picture. So the bar has been raised to the extent that you have to put on these airs of being better than anybody could possibly be just to get your foot in the door because they're always going to assume the worst.
Again, this is the Ari Lewis Show here on Israel Sports and News Radio, also on the YouTube channel, The Nation of Israel. Our guest this evening is Rabbi Hanina Weissman, and the topic of this program is the Shadchan crisis. So I want to share a couple of stories, partly because it'll be therapeutic, and I want to get your thoughts on it. So here's story number one. So a guy comes to me and says, yeah, I have a nice girl for you. And I said, okay. We go on a date, and the girl asked me, have you had any long-term relationships? I said, yes, I have, and I say it. And I said, what about you? And she kind of looks, and I'm like, what's the problem? She's like, well, I was married before. Did nobody tell you that? I said, no, he did not. So then afterwards, I go to the person who set us up, and I said, why didn't you tell me that? He's like, oh, are you a Kohen? I said, no, I'm not, but I would have liked to know that. I feel betrayed and duped, and you made me look like an idiot to say this is a woman that was divorced. Have you been in a long-term relationship? It made me look like a fool. So I want to know if you think my story is commonplace, or is that just an exception to the rule?
Look, I mean, stories in general of Shadchanim not giving correct information or pertinent information are very widespread because their job is to say is just to push a shidduch. They're not actually advocating for your best interest, which is what their job is. Their job is to basically be a headhunter. If you were looking for a job, you would go to the headhunter and say, these are my skills. This is the type of job that I'm looking for. Now go find me good job opportunities. That's it. They wouldn't try to talk you into a job that made no sense. Okay. It wouldn't be good for you, wouldn't be good for the company, wouldn't be good for them. They would go out of business very quickly. Or if you're going to a real estate agent, you would say, this is, I'm looking for a 3-bedroom apartment, this is my budget, this is the type of area where I want to live. You give them some bullet points, this is what if they gave you the exact opposite of what you're looking for, once, twice, 3 times, that real estate agent's going to go out of business because their job is to find you what you're looking for or something reasonably close, and that's how they make the sale. The Shadchan doesn't do that. The Shadchan tries to talk you into something that you don't want and twist your arm, or not even listen to what you want, just give you anything that they have on their plate. A Shadchan never says, what you're looking for is reasonable. I don't have anybody right now, but I'll keep you in mind. They'll try to force you into what they have. They're basically a used car salesman trying to sell the car that they have on the lot. And I don't want to think of human beings that way, but that's how the Shadchan sees the people as merchandise that they're trying to move.
Because in that particular situation, he tried to say, oh, I forgot to tell you that she was already married, which I thought was a lie. And I was like, wow, I'm really uncomfortable with this whole situation because I feel like there's a lot of falseness going on. And then he was like, come on, a couple more dates, like he was trying to force it.
Because that's how he gets paid. The Shadchan gets paid for making the match.
I heard the going rate is it $6,000 a match? Do you know what?
It's gone up that high?
I don't. Or maybe it's less. I don't know.
1800.
1,800? Okay, I'm sorry. I don't want to get the fee wrong, but those numbers add up, obviously.
Of course.
And it could be like a person's livelihood. It's not. It could. A lot of people think it could be on the side, but if they do well enough, it could be.
Well, yeah, they're getting paid for the matches, and the thing is, unlike headhunters and real estate agents, they're not investing anything in their business. If a shotgun paid you $10 every time you went out on a blind date to help you cover minimal expenses of a date, just pay for a cup of coffee and a piece of cake, just to help shoulder the burden of the dating, they would think twice or even once before they fix you up on the date. Now, if you're going to give them $1,800 for a match, they could set you up on 180 dates until they get it right and break even. So if they're reasonably competent in what they do, that shouldn't be a big risk for them, right? If they set you up on 90 dates, they're doubling their money on you, right? So, but if they felt a little bit of a pinch when it didn't work out, they would make better matches. Just like the real estate agent has an office and they're paying for advertising and they might be paying for staff and they're paying for their car and their gasoline and their time, right? If they're going around not making matches, they're losing money. Same with the headhunter. The shotgun loses nothing. They have nothing to lose by saying, just give it a try. You have something to lose. They always say you have nothing to lose. You are losing your time, your money, and your energy. They're the ones who have nothing to lose, because if it works out, they're getting paid. If it doesn't work out, you'll still come crawling back.
We have a question, yes.
At the risk of getting this video taken down, I have doctors coming to me or through my family or telling me that I should take what. And I say, okay, I'm going to make a business document. It's called Damages and Liabilities. If something happens to me, you, doc, pay me $1 million. Flat rate. There's no punitive damages extra. Flat rate. I know the company that made that thing is not liable for that. So all the more so the doctor is not going to put their money with their mouth. So.
I was going to say also in terms of getting it taken down, and I won't say that bad word, but I was going to say if you want to solve the crisis with the Shadchanim, I would say that they should all line up and get injected with that thing, and the good ones will survive, and the bad ones, no, they'll be, it's only a good thing, right?
Oh my God!
All the experts could give it to all the experts.
Wow. All right, again, this is our Lewis Show here on Israel Sports News Radio, and also on YouTube, maybe not now, but the Nation of Israel YouTube page. Well, did you hit on a point? I guess you probably think that the Shadchan system can't be fixed, but if they had to pay a little bit of amount, even if it's $10 for a date, would that be enough to solve it?
Look, it wouldn't solve all the problems, but it would make the system a lot better. Okay. It would make because again, if a shotgun gets it right, even 1% of the time, they're breaking even. If they get it right 2% of the time, they're doubling their money. So shouldn't we expect a shotgun to get it right 1% of the time? Is that too much to ask? I would say if you can't get it right 1% of the time, you probably shouldn't be fixing people up. I think that's a fair standard. Right? So it's a good way to weed out the bad ones. The shotchanim who get really offended and say, why should I pay you to go out on a date? Good. Don't fix people up. You weed it out of the system. The ones who are willing to put their money where their mouth is, say, and this isn't my idea, by the way. I have a friend, Zevi Adler, who came up with this idea years ago. He wrote an article for the Jewish Press with this very same idea. Okay. He did it in his own life. He was not a shotchanim, but he fixed up his friends this way, and he said like roughly half of them got married this way. He was just doing it for fun to help, give them a little boost to go out on the date. So I thought of making this more of a widespread idea that a shadchan should chip in something for the first date, and if it works, you pay them 100 times whatever they chipped in, and it could be just a nominal amount, just to make that statement that they're putting their money where their mouth is. That they are so sure that at least it's a good idea, that it's worth a shot, that they're willing to invest some actual currency in that. And again, if they're moderate, if they're even slightly competent, they have nothing to fear. Only those who are woefully incompetent, who literally never get it right, are going to lose money, and we don't want those people to be in the system. So and it makes life easier for everybody, because you as a single, if somebody says, I'm so sure it's a good idea that I'm giving you 20 shekels to go out, even if you don't take the money, you'll say, I'm willing to give it a try because I trust this person more. I trust this person has done enough homework and put enough thought into it that they're willing to invest something. That'll build your trust in the shadchan. It'll help you go out on the date with a more positive attitude, as opposed to saying, I just have to go out on on another blind date. But you'll have a more positive attitude, which is really important, and it'll make the shadchan's life easier because it'll be easier for them to get yeses out of people. So it just makes life easier and pleasant for everybody. There's no downside to this unless you're a shadchan who never gets it right.
All right, so okay, that's one way. Maybe we'll solve this problem tonight. So let's say shotgun should put in $10. Yeah, $10 a day. Yeah. Okay. Well, all right.
And
so
the girl too. Give 20 shekels to the guy, 20 shekels to the guy. And again, you're not paying them to go out. Right. It's helping cover a little bit of the cost of the dating. Makes it sort of going Dutch without anybody having to pay for it. If you want to pay more, you can certainly pay more. But just giving you a little bit extra to go out on the date. and to feel that it's more of a pleasant experience that they put some thought into. It just makes the whole experience better for everybody.
All right, I want to now tell a story the other way where I was kind of put in an awkward position trying to set up people, which I prefer not to do. But anyway, so a nice, lovely woman says, she first asked me how old do I think she is, which is not a good question when you're for a woman, so I lied and said younger than I thought. And then she said, you tried to set me up with one of your friends. I said, okay. So I thought in my head, I was like, okay, I got this match. I'll set you guys up in set the photos up, etc. So then later I said, hey, what happened? And she's like, well, he called me. And I said, yes. And he said, do you want to go for a cup of coffee? And I said, great. And she said, I didn't go. What's the problem? He should take me out for dinner. I want to know your thoughts about that. I'm not making that up. That really happened.
Okay, well, I think that you can imagine what I'm going to say there. I mean, this guy's running a food kitchen.
No, I'm saying she wanted the guy
to take her out to dinner because she's obviously this drama queen, and he for the privilege, right? The privilege of spending time with her, he has to pay for the privilege of spending time with her. That's not setting a good precedent.
Yeah. It's not. By the way, I've told stories to female friends of mine. They were also appalled as well. But is that story more commonplace than you think? Again, or is that accepted?
I think it really depends. I think a lot of women in particular, especially the feminists, which is a whole evil thing that has also caused a lot of damage in the shidduch world. We should probably talk about that too.
Sure.
But they have this, if they are truly equal to men, maybe they should buy the man dinner once in a while, and maybe they should pay for maybe they should drive and pick up the man once in a while. If they really think they're equal, they shouldn't be wined and dined. Equal means I'm not treating you better than I treat my guy friends. When I go out with my guy friends, I'm not buying them dinner all the time.
Right. Yeah. I don't
so
think
why
I've
should
ever
I buy you dinner?
What about this thing? I sometimes have this with Shadchanim where they present me with a profile, and I say, they didn't tell the girl that they presented me with her profile.
Yeah.
And then I say okay to the profile, and then the Shadchan will say, well, let me ask the girl, and I'll get back to you. And then the Shadchan comes back with this lashon. She agreed to go out with you as if I'm a member of the Taliban. Where does this come? What is this?
The word agreed in that situation.
Agreed stuff.
That's,
as if I put a saber to their...
Yeah, that's probably the Shadchan's words and not the girl's words. The girl might have said, wow, he sounds amazing. I'd love to go out. You don't know. I mean,
it's just I've
look,
heard this many times.
Well, Shadchanim are not known for their fine choices of language. I mean, that's not something they're specialize at, right? You using the right choice of words.
Yes.
Look, I'll tell on that topic.
Okay.
Shadchanim often expect singles to thank you for thinking of them. I wrote a song about this, and I expect you to put the lyrics at some point. Yes, thank you for thinking of me. What other aspect of life do we thank somebody merely for thinking of you? I mean, can we expect a poor person? Imagine if I go to a poor person and say, I thought of giving you some money today, but I decided not to. Thank you for thinking of giving me money. Right? I thank you for doing something for me. If the Shadchan puts in a real effort, if they actually try, really try, and it doesn't work out, I thank you for putting in an effort.
Sure.
I don't thank you for not trying and acting as if you tried. I don't thank you for making a haphazard attempt to fix me up and really not care. I certainly don't thank you merely for thinking of me. That is such a degrading attitude to have about singles. You are so low on the totem pole that I shouldn't even be bothering to think of you. The mere fact that I think of you, if I do nothing more, is worthy of gratitude. I mean, what statement is that making?
Not a good one. I doubt that. Okay, so here's another story I want to tell you. I love this story. I've told this numerous times to other people. So I dealt with a Shadchan, this was a few years ago as well, and she starts up by saying she doesn't charge money. Just, if it works out in marriage, she doesn't charge money. Oh, interesting. Okay, kind of like what we're talking about. So she said the way it works is the following.
Well, let me just start with, she doesn't charge money for just meeting with her the first time, even?
No, it sounded like she didn't charge, even if she sets me up with a girl and we get married, she won't take money.
Oh, she still won't take money. Okay.
That's what it sounded like.
So that's nice.
Okay, so she says, the way it works is I set you up on the date, and you go on the date. If you like the date, if it's parve, actually, if it's parve, you go on a second date. Very militant. And I was like, all right, well, I'll give this a shot. So I go on this date, and I don't know why she set me up with this girl. Man, the comment was very awkward. So afterwards, I wasn't really comfortable with the situation, so I call her up. Oh, and when she called me, she didn't say her name, which I do not like that. It's very annoying. But anyway, so then she said, yes, she's not interested. I'm like, okay, listen, I'm not interested in you. And she thought that I was saying that about the girl. But I meant, no, you, the Shadchan person. And she says, well, you understand that I don't charge. She was using that over me. And I was like, well, I don't pay for a bag of sand. So I think that sometimes people think, by the way, she also said that I reminded her of her son. Again, she kept trying to put these little jabs in. Is it a problem then if the person doesn't charge to then try to use that to say to justify not doing a good job. See
No,
what I mean?
of course, well, you may get what you pay for in life,
Yeah.
but the fact is, no. If somebody's going to be involved in your personal life, first of all, I would be very careful about who you allow into your personal life.
Sure, yeah.
Just because a total stranger or somebody in the fringes of your life calls you and says, "I think I have a girl for you," doesn't mean you should let them into your personal life.
Sure.
You know, you should be very careful about that. I put the Shadchan through a trial first. If I'm
Okay.
not comfortable with them, if I don't like their attitude, if I don't feel that they're listening to me and they're respecting me and they're treating me as an equal, if they think they're better than me, I don't want them in my personal life. If they're trying to be a bully, I don't let them in. I'm not interested
Okay.
in whatever girls they might know. God can find a different shliach.
Sure.
I don't give them that power over me, and I think it's really important to do that. Don't give them power. There's no reason to let these people into your personal life, whether they're charging. If they are charging you, then they should be a professional. Hold them to a business standard. And if they're not charging and they're doing it for a mitzvah, it's only a mitzvah if you do it the right way. A person can't say, well, just because I'm trying to do a mitzvah, I get a mitzvah. A person can cause a lot of harm in the name of good. You're only doing a mitzvah if you do it within certain boundaries and a framework. And the same thing comes with matchmaking. If you don't do matchmaking the right way, not only isn't it a mitzvah, it's actually a grave avera.
Again, this is the Ari Lewis Show here on IsraelSportsNewsRadio.com, also the Nation of Israel YouTube page. So you mentioned God. Let's talk about him because he's also a great matchmaker. In fact, he's probably the best one.
He's the only one.
He's really the only one. In the Tanakh, there are a couple stories of people meeting, such as very famous one, Yitzchak and Rivka, obviously.
Right.
So should we be trying to go more to a pure... I'll give a shout out to Johnny Strauss, by the way. Johnny Strauss, he got married a year ago. He said that God was his Shadchan, that he met his wife just outside his apartment. He was walking outside and saw her. Should we be trying to do more of those type, I don't want to say supernatural, maybe it's the right word, but going more of a pure way? Is there a way to do that we're less involved with human beings and more divine energy?
Well, look, I don't think that matchmaking should be totally cut out of the process. There is a way that it can be done well. Again, if you know the people well and you care about them and you really try, then you can be a shliach. That is God's holy work that you're attempting to do. And if you do it the right way, hopefully He'll make you a shliach. There's nothing wrong with helping people get married, but it has to be done the right way. There is a place for that. I'm not saying nobody should ever fix anybody else up, but it has to be done the right way. And generally speaking, it's not. There should be more natural meeting opportunities. Absolutely. I wouldn't call them supernatural. They're natural. People in the course of life have the opportunity to meet. If you're davening in the same shul as people day after day, week after week, you should know who's davening with you. You obviously share some values. You're living in the same area. You probably have similar backgrounds, roughly. You should know those people that you're davening with, just because the shul should be a friendly place. So you should talk to them after the davening. How could it be that men and women could, single men and single women could daven in a shul for years on end, and the only possible way that they'll ever go out on a date is if a total stranger happens to fix them up? It's ludicrous. So there should be natural meeting opportunities, and they're really built into our daily lives. Unfortunately, the Orthodox world has become so strict about this. They've become very lenient, really, on helping people get married. They haven't become strict about tznius. I'm very strict about tznius, but they've become very lenient on the mitzvah of helping people get married because of this overarching fear of anything bad possibly happening, that they've taken away all the natural meeting opportunities, the best one being wedding meals.
Right, we've talked this before, yeah.
Sure, friends of the chassan and kala, that is the best opportunity for singles meet. Again, that in and of itself will not solve all the problems.
Sure.
But it will help many more people get married without costing any money, putting in any extra effort. They're there anyway, they have mutual friends, there's marriage in the air, they dress well. Sit down and have dinner together, there's no pressure whatsoever. And some people will get married from that. There's no reason to. Some people have, so there's no reason to take that away. So the first thing we have to do is stop taking away the natural meeting opportunities that are already there, and then we could think of more, putting in more opportunities for people to meet, creating programs where singles can meet each other.
Just to clarify, because you're saying at weddings they make separate seating.
Separate seating, right?
And at shuls they make separate kiddushes on Shabbat.
Everything is separate. Now again, the davening, of course, has to be separate. The dancing at the wedding has to be separate, but the rest of it, there's no reason whatsoever why people shouldn't meet. This is a golden opportunity for singles to meet, and it's actually criminal. It's sort of like the chassan and the kala throwing it in the face of single friends. Look at us, we're so happy and giddy, but you can't have it. You go sit far away, and maybe some middle-aged shadchan will try to fix you up and take pity on you.
Another question for me.
Speaking of criminal, I noticed a lot of this kind of stuff happens in the Orthodox world, and I've had friends who've been kind of like, I guess you could say victims of this, where the shadchan set them up with someone, and the shadchan didn't tell the guy or the girl about the other person's literally clinical issue that they got diagnosed with. The shadchan didn't say anything, hid it. People got married, they had kids or 2 kids or 3 kids,
wow.
And then stuff hits the what, and then it's just I have friends who are friends of friends who are suffering, and this is stuff that I say you should be able to sue the person who
I think you should. Well, they're certainly not getting a refund from the Shadchan. I don't know of any case where the Shadchan was forced to give back the money for a job.
So I
done.
do have a story like that, unfortunately, very personal, where a very, I don't know how to say the right way, but a rabbi that had a lot of problems sent me over with a girl with a lot of really bad problems. I didn't want to say it because I don't want to identify the person. And then after I found out the problem, I said, why didn't you tell me about that? And he couldn't really give me a good answer for that. So where is that coming from? Where the person sent it up knows there's a really serious problem, doesn't tell the other person. Is it an innocent thing? Well, they'll get married and it'll just work itself out. Or is it they don't care about the person, they want the money? I mean, what do you think?
So look, there's a fine line between airing everybody's dirty laundry before a first date. Obviously, there's a time and a place. Things have to be shared before people get married, but not everything has to be aired on the first date or pre the first date. Obviously not. But if it's something very, very serious, I would say the rule of thumb is, if the rabbi himself or the shadchan himself, for themselves or their own child, if they would want to know this information prior to the first date, and they would be upset if that wasn't revealed to them, then they should reveal that information to other people. And it goes in just, in fixing people up in general, right? If the shadchan wouldn't want this said to them or their child, don't say it to the single.
Well, I'm going to use a Godfather analogy. This is popping in my head. Okay, so I don't know if you see the movie or not. I know not everyone in our audience watches movies, but so the beginning scene of Godfather 1, Bonacieux's daughter, Bonacieux tells the story how his daughter got raped, and he wants those people that raped her killed, and then Vito says that is not justice. They're still alive. So, I watched this movie a lot with my father, and I was like, hey, what would have happened if Vito's daughter, Connie, got raped? Vito would have killed those people because Vito has a different standard for his own kids than the other people. I know this is the Godfather, but Shachanit are kind of like mafia people, sort of.
In a way.
So that's a good idea that they should have the standard for their kids. Could they put that with other people? I know it's strangers and singles, etc., but maybe closer. Maybe not exactly the same, but maybe closer. Maybe that'd be an idea.
Of course.
Okay.
People have to think for themselves. If it was my own child, I would do the research much more carefully. I wouldn't just say to them, oh, it's only a date, go out on a date, who cares, right?
Right.
You would really put a lot of thought and effort into it because you actually care about the person. They don't care about the singles. That's a problem. And I haven't set up too many people in my life. On the rare occasions when I tried, I really cared. Like, it would bother me, the idea of fixing people up and knowing that they had a bad experience. I know what that's like, and I wouldn't want to put other people through that. So I would really be bothered, and I would really be upset with myself if I caused other people to experience that suffering. I don't think that these shadchanim have that connection to singles. They just don't care.
Okay, so should singles look more into alternative methods such as J-Swipe or Cyanide, these online dating things?
No, the online dating things are terrible, and I can prove it. They're a dismal failure. I don't even know why singles are paying $20 a month to get absolutely nothing. Their own numbers, all of these sites will tell you how many matches they've made. You can see how many years they've been in existence, and they'll tell you how many current members they have. However current members they have, you can times that 2 or 3 times how many people tried the service and then canceled their account. So if you do the math, from Saw You at Sinai, by the way, they'll show you the numbers of how many engagements, not even marriages, but how many engagements that they have. It's posted on the site. How many current members they have, and you know how many years they've been in, I think since around 2002, I believe. Okay? It averages out, they had, I think, like 150 shadchanim, or roughly that amount. It averages out to less than 1 marriage per year per shadchan.
Wow.
Yeah. And all those singles, or most of them, are paying $20 a month, month after month after month. They're getting nothing. It's a dismal failure. You would on average have to. I'm not just picking on Saw You at Sinai. They're all. If you on average as a single would have to be on all of these apps for 50 years to get married, based on the averages and how long it takes for one person to get married and how many members they have. You would have to be on the site for decades on average to find your person. So everybody knows their friend who got married and swears by it. But on a percentage basis, it's a colossal failure. And again, everything is going to work a certain percentage of the time. If a monkey is fixing up people entirely at random, like they throw darts for the stocks, some of them are going to be winners. Some of them are going to get married.
We're going to watch right twice a day.
Exactly, right? But that doesn't mean the monkey is good at fixing people up. I think that most shadchanim and most websites have a lower percentage of getting it right than a monkey doing it entirely at random. They're total, and you're actually paying for the privilege.
Svi, I think, wanted to ask a question.
I just wanted to say, in the words of Donald Trump, you're fired. That's what I want to tell them.
Fire these people. They're doing a bad job. We should fire if shadchanim are doing such a terrible job, they're getting it right less than 1% of the time. It's time to fire them. Look, if a single goes out 100 times and doesn't get married, what are they going to say? You obviously met the right person and you screwed it up and you're not marriage material. You're doing everything wrong. That's what, fairly or unfairly, that's what everybody's going to assume. So why don't we assume that about the shadchan? If you set people up 100 times and you can't make a marriage, maybe there's something wrong with the way you're fixing people up. Maybe you're the one who needs to go for therapy. You're not doing a good job.
Okay, and also J-Swipe you don't like either, right? No, it's a joke.
I don't use any of these apps. I
No,
don't know.
J-Swipe
They're
is
all
like-
basically the same. What is it like? You just swipe in.
J-Swipe is a little less religious than the other ones.
They're all going to.
It's more meme marketing.
So these things are not going to work. So either
Right.
either you're totally bowled over by somebody that you saw in 4 seconds, or you're not. I mean, these things are not going. These things don't work. These things
Yeah.
don't work. They don't work. And the proof is the people who use them are miserable, and they're not getting. They're by and large are not getting married, and they're miserable. They're not making people happy, and they're not helping people get married. They're not doing their the purpose of a matchmaker is to make matches. They serve no other reason to actually exist. Matchmaker, make matches. If they're not making matches, they serve no functional purpose. Dating websites, if they're not leading to dates and marriages, they're not serving the only purpose that they have to exist, aside from making money for the owner of the site. They're not doing their job, so it's time to look somewhere else. They failed.
What do you think of eHarmony or eHarmony's style?
So that style is better. I actually started a site years ago, a free service. I put in over $10,000 of my own money to build the site, and I don't charge for it. It's a gift to the Jewish community. It's still there. It's still an active site, but it didn't reach a critical mass of users. It's called hotkiddish.com. I'd actually be willing to give it over to somebody if they could take it over and build it up to something that would really help people. It's basically a way for singles to meet. Married people can sign up as well to help their single friends. It's basically like LinkedIn, but more for singles. Let's say, I have 50 friends that I'm connected to. Even as a married person, I sign up and I connect to all my single friends. And you're a friend of mine, so you can see the profiles of all the people that are connected to me. And if you see somebody who looks good to you, you can either directly contact them like you would on LinkedIn, or ask me to make the shidduch. And there would be that built-in trust factor, because you're not just some random person on a website who might be married, who might be crazy, who might not be Jewish, who knows, but you have a mutual friend who can vouch for you. And the profiles on the site are all open-ended questions, real value-oriented questions. I ask people really thoughts about living in Israel, for example, real value-oriented questions, no labels or things like that. And I find, by the way, that the singles who signed up for the site generally don't really answer the questions in any kind of depth. It's like, one of the questions is, what are you hoping to get out of the site? And people write, a husband, a wife, and they don't put any information about themselves beyond that. How do you expect to find a spouse when you literally you don't answer any other questions about yourself? And these are really value-oriented questions. So that site is active. It's not being used very much, but it could potentially grow. And I offer that as a better way for people to use the power of dating on the internet to get married. And it's a way that married people could help their friends too without really doing any work. Just sign up and connect to your single friends. Called hotkiddish.com.
But I want to tell a personal story of one of these dating sites. It was a long time ago, but I thought it was pretty funny. It was, you remember J-Date, right? You remember that? Okay, so I think it was 18, and I was like, this sucks. Sorry, but it's true. It sucks. I want to leave. I'm canceling. They're like, what if we gave you 1 free month? I hate to lose you. A free month? All right, fine. But then what happens, of course, you forget to cancel in a month. It's a scam.
Right, it's a recurring charge.
Yes, so the thing is that they obviously have that plan because they know people want to cancel, which shows you that a lot of people want to cancel. That's just a point I want to make regarding what Khani said, that it doesn't work a lot of times. Again, this is the Ari Lewis Show here on Israel Sports News Radio, and the YouTube channel is The Nation of Israel. Our guest this evening is Rabbi Hanan Weissman. So you mentioned that you think weddings are a good place for people to meet, synagogues. What about Shabbat meals?
They can be good. I don't like the singles meals that go on in Katamon and the Upper West Side. They tend not to work very well.
Air desperation?
It's basically everybody's friends with everybody else, but nobody actually dates and gets married. They all just want to be friends. Because, by the way, the challenge that people always give me is that I'm so in favor of natural meeting opportunities. Well, here you have the Upper West Side and Katamon. They're full of natural meeting opportunities, or so they call them, and yet people aren't getting married. So that proves I'm wrong. It's not true, because those are not natural. There's nothing natural about going to singles events, and there's nothing natural about basically being friends with everybody in the neighborhood, but you don't date them. Oh, I like them too much. I think of them as a brother and a sister, but I wouldn't marry. If you're such good friends with somebody and you really like them and you enjoy their company, well, hello. I mean, don't you want to be married to somebody who would be your best friend?
See, they talk about that the friend zone thing, that women will friend zone a guy, but I'm of the opinion that if two people are friends for a while, that they could go out on a date and it could work. What can I tell you? I think the friend zone thing is a bit of a myth, but I mean, what do you think?
I think it's a bad idea. I'm not friends with any single women. I mean, there were times I went out with women and they didn't want to continue dating, but they wanted to be friends. I said, I already have friends. I'm looking for a wife. I'm not looking to fill that role in my life right now. I didn't go out with you to find a friend.
That's right. I have too many friends as it is, so
fine.
Yes. Yeah, no, I don't like that.
I'm not looking for that. I don't think it's healthy.
Yeah, and that's what. Sorry, I want to clarify. The myth is that a guy could be friends with a girl platonically. That's a myth, in my opinion.
Also, from a Torah standpoint, I think that it gets into real hot water. I don't think it's really. I don't think it's really healthy or appropriate. I don't think it's healthy. I think you should be friendly with people of the
Yeah,
opposite sex, but to actually be hanging out with them and spending time and having deep personal conversations with them, I don't think it's appropriate.
Yeah, it's not so. That's something that's not so sneered. If you think
It's
about
not sneistic at all. It's really not appropriate.
All right, so Shabbat meals, though, if it's not a singles meal, then it's valid in your opinion?
So here's the rule of thumb that I have with events in general. If you as a single could look into a crystal ball and you could see that you would not meet somebody to date or marry at the event, but you would still want to go because the event offers you something else, whether it's a Torah class, it's a chesed-oriented project, it's something fun, okay, you would go there anyway, so then that's a good opportunity to meet people. If you would not go there because you're strictly looking to get married and you have no interest in the actual event, then you shouldn't go. That's just a boring, awkward singles event. So same thing with the Shabbos meals. Look, you have to eat a meal on Shabbos. If your only choice is eating a meal alone or eating with friendly people who are single, then by all means, go to the meal, but it should be in a way that's actually pleasant and not awkward. It shouldn't just, here you have all the loser singles that are having their meals together and this is just all they're going to do. Because that's also part of the problem with these singles lifestyle, the Katamon Upper West Side.
Makes them comfortable.
It makes them comfortable being single, and they don't miss what it means. They don't miss being married. They have their jobs, they have their apartment, and they have their friends, and they're traveling, they're having a good time. They don't want to get married so much. Getting married means losing all that. It makes it too easy and fun to be single. Being single should be painful to a certain extent. Shouldn't be painful to the extent that you're crying yourself to sleep every night and killing yourself and life is horrible, but there should be some pain. I actually wrote a chapter about this in the book. That is a healthy pain. Pain in essence is a good thing because it's like the warning light in the car. It tells you that there's something wrong that needs to be fixed. If I have an injury, then I want my body to tell me that so I can go get it fixed. If I have a void in my life, I want to feel that pain so I could either learn to cope with it in a healthy way or try to fix that problem. If singles don't feel the pain of being single, again, to a limited extent, it shouldn't be pouring on the pain, but to a limited extent to feel that void and feel the pain. If you have all these girlfriends, why do you need to get married?
I think a lot of people have numbed themselves out already after the years.
That's also...
They've numbed themselves out, and also they have removed that space for the person from, like, they've just said, there's no space for another person.
That happens as singles get older, where it's much harder to get married when you're older because you already have a full life, a full schedule. You're already a fully formed person, basically. You're not growing with a person. You now need to fit somebody else in your life who also has a full life.
Child and maybe another
Yeah,
child and another
you're
child.
taking two people who have full lives and trying to put them together to make one full life together. It's much harder. As a younger person who is just in school and doesn't really have any plans, doesn't really know what they're doing, then you could build from the ground up. It's much easier. But also, singles are scared of being hurt, and they're scared to open up to somebody. And that's why a lot of people, again, this is something girls do more than guys because they're more... I want to say, I daven already. Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Girls are scared of getting hurt, I think, more than guys. So they go out on a date and they don't want to open themselves up. They don't want to be friendly and smile and allow themselves to be hurt. You can't... it's not possible for a person to love you if you don't make it possible for the person to hurt you. And it's very scary. If you've been hurt many times, you don't want to experience that again, and you're looking for the red flags and your radar up, and you don't want to drop that mask, so to speak, until 3, 4, 5 dates when you're already comfortable with the person.
You said mask a different way.
It's a kosher mask, right? You don't want to drop that mask and open yourself up to somebody until you're sure. But by the time you're sure, they think they're dating a cold fish and they don't want to court you anymore.
Right.
So it's a problem. People have to allow themselves to be hurt in order to make it possible for somebody to love them.
Basically, you cannot avoid risk, got to manage it, right?
You've got to, that's right. You have to allow people to hurt you to a certain extent in dating to make yourself open.
Possibility.
You have to, now again, not on the first, you're not bearing your soul on the first date, but be friendly, smile, talk about yourself as a real person. Don't just go through the motions of dating with this stiff upper lip and just coldly evaluate the person. That's not going to be pleasant for the other person. They're not going to want to see you again. So you have to be friendly and open and really fully engaged in the date to make it possible to have a bad experience. That's the only way to make it possible to really have a great experience.
Again, this is the Ari Lewis Show here on Israel Sports and News Radio and also on the YouTube channel, The Nation of Israel. And our guest this evening is Rabbi Hanan Weissman. So a few years ago, I gave a very famous lecture at the Emic Learning Center, talked about the Shidduch crisis and the system, etc. And I mentioned this concept that hypothetically there is a grading system, A, B, C, and D, and we talked a bit about yichus and other things. But one of the points I wanted to make was that I feel like converts are looked down upon in the Shidduch system. It's something that's not necessarily written down in that world, but you get a certain, you get a certain vibe, and that they are considered lower. I want to get your thoughts on that.
Also Bali True.
Bali
Bali
Tshuva,
Tshuva,
yeah,
sure.
they're dhimmis. I actually wrote an article about this for the Jewish Press many years ago. It's still on my website, called "The Dhimmis Among Us: Judaism's Lower Class." It's talking about Bali Tshuva and Gerim, how they're looked down upon as Sug Bet, and it's total. And I went through a whole bunch of Torah sources that show that not only are Bali Tshuva perfectly acceptable marriage partners, even for people who are so-called FFB, which is a misnomer. Nobody is born from, right? Ki yetzer leva adam ra min urav. People are born with a bad nature, and they need to learn how to be good. They need to learn how to be from. So that's first of all. There's no such thing as an FFB, okay? But also Balei Tshuva, the way it's used today is somebody who either grew up in a family that wasn't from, or was from and went off the derech and came back. That's how they use it, and it's sort of looking down on the person. Balei Tshuva, the way it's used in Shas and in the poskim, is always a positive term. The actual meaning of Balei Tshuva is any Jew who did any Aveira and then did Tshuva for that Aveira, which should be everybody. You should be a Bal Tshuva every single day of your life, because everybody does Aveiros. We do Tshuva for the Aveiros, and if you're sincere, then you get the positive term of being called a Bal Tshuva. It's always used in a positive sense. It's always a good thing. So people need to change their whole mindset about this. People need to change it.
Some dark humor.
Go for it. Oh, I love dark humor.
But he's never spoke this much on a podcast before. He's
know,
really
because
into
this
it. It's very personal, yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah, get it up.
Before Ari interviewed Tuvia Tenenbaum, I sat with Tuvia Tenenbaum, and he asked me, because he likes to prod people, he's a journalist, he asked me, Tzvi, are you married? And I said, listen, I was once engaged a few years ago in the States, and I had one of my zivugim and I lost him, whatever it is, it's a long story. And he goes, how old are you? And I said, 40. So he goes to me, and he's got this accent, and he was born in Bnei Brak, so he goes to me, so you 40 years old, so that you're alta kake, you're about Tshuva, so you're Meshugana, and you're Russian, so you're like not really you're from anywhere. He's like, you know who they're gonna give you? And he was obviously joking, but they're gonna give you a Sephardi with cancer. I'm like, oh my god. But I was cracking up, and then I extended that joke. I'm like, so maybe I could take this girl, we can go to the Baba Sali, we can daven for her refuah. But it was just like, it just goes to show, like, how because he comes from the Haredi.
He was involved in that world, yeah.
Bnei Brak, and he's like, that's how they look at Bali Tshuva. They're going to give you a girl who's like, I don't know, Chas v'sholom on her deathbed. Really, that's
right.
To that extreme. I was laughing at this because that was like the best hizuk I ever got. You know, because most people like to give you, oh, come on, don't say you're over the hill. You're fine, you'll be fine, you'll be this, you'll be, they keep telling you all the time as they're not helping you. But this guy just told me as a kind of this dark joke. I don't know, I just thought that was funny, but it was like it hit home, but because it was like, that's how they view Bali Tshuva.
Well, it's actually good to be able to laugh about these things, because it is funny. I mean, the Shidduch world is full of great humor, and we have to be able to see the humor in all of this.
Sure. Yeah, so right, laughter is the best medicine. It's the only medicine. That's a quote out there, so something to
And laughter has no harmful side effects.
There you go.
Unlike some other things that we can't talk about.
We can't talk about YouTube, yeah. All right, thank you for this interview. We got to go to this segment that we're going to talk about earlier in the show, but I want to end off this part. Now we'll talk about feminism.
All right.
So, I understand you're not a fan of it.
Feminism is evil. Feminism is an anti-Jewish concept. Now, again, I've written many articles about this as well, and one of my books actually is a scholarly study of the role and nature of men and women according to primary Torah sources, literally primary Torah sources, and it outlines the different roles. Why did God create two different types of human beings? How are they supposed to work together? How are they different, etc.? Gets into all of these details. Feminism is an evil thing. The Torah upholds women to a higher standard than the feminists themselves do. And unfortunately, feminism has filtered in even to the Orthodox world. We idealize today a woman who's the high-powered lawyer, the go-getter, the businesswoman. And again, a woman can have excellent pursuits outside of the home, but her primary occupation is to be a wife and a mother first, and everything else after that. And that is not denigrating women or holding women back from anything. That is their destiny. That's why God made women in the world, to procreate, which is the most amazing thing to do, to bear children, to run a home, which you need the full range of skills to be able to do, to raise children and to manage a Jewish home. And then to do things beyond that as well, to do chesed and to have a job, to do all those things. And you need that full range of skills. But that is the most glorious thing. The Torah says a woman's job is to be an ezer kenegdo, man's helpmate. If you go out with a girl and say, I'm looking for an ezer kenegdo, She'll be horrified. Oh my God, you sexist, you pig, you discover you think I should be a slave and just serve you all day. And the Shadchan will say that. Well, that's what the Torah says. It's
Not a slave.
No, but an Ezer Kenegdo.
Yeah, okay.
That a woman gets her schar and olam haba mainly from the Torah study of her husband. That's what Chazal say. That's what the Torah says. If you don't believe that, you're an apikores. You're an apikores. Now, a woman can learn Torah as well, but it's not the same importance as the man, right? The woman gets a schar for her husband and her children, encouraging them and assisting them and helping them with their Torah learning. And the Torah learning that she does is a bonus. It's not the primary thing. That's her ticket to Olam Haba, according to the Torah. That's what the Torah says. If you don't like it, that's fine. You don't have to like it, but you can't say that you're a Torah Jew. If you think that's sexist and horrible, that's fine, but you're an apikores. So at least be honest and say, I'm an apikores. But you can't say, no, I'm a Torah Jew and I'm redefining what the Torah says. It's anti-Torah.
So it's interesting because when you were saying that just now, I was thinking all these people that if they would see this on YouTube and Facebook, they would get upset and say that, of course, that is just male dominance or anti-women talk. So what would you say to that?
I don't know. It's not anti-women talk. Again, the Torah holds women in the highest esteem possible. One of the articles I wrote also a while ago was showing how if women really want to be equal to men, then they have to be willing to accept a lot of changes. First of all, they don't get a ksuba anymore. A man has to sign a contract with his wife that he's going to give her the shirt off his back to support her. After the marriage, if he gives her a get or if he dies, he's got to give her a lot of money. No more ksuba. It's equal. Man pays for himself, the woman pays for herself, and that's it. So if the woman is willing to forfeit the ksuba, forfeit the financial security of marriage, which is supposed to be built, of course it doesn't always work out that way, but the Torah mandates that. This is part of the process. Willing to give up all of the perks that women get. Women get a lot of perks over men in the Torah as well. I wrote a whole long list of them in the article. Then they could be at least honest feminists. But they want all the perks and they want to get all the perks of being a man too. And that's not the way it works. Men have certain advantages and women have certain advantages. And overall it's equal because men and women are equal, but they're different. And that's the way it's meant to be. They're supposed to have different roles. They serve a different purpose. It's like the Army and the Air Force. Which is more important? I don't know. They're both equally important, but they have different roles. And if you're trying to fly the plane and he's trying to drive the tank, the whole army's going to be a mess. Women are supposed to do different things than men. And when everybody does their job properly, the women and the men are both going to be fulfilled and happy. The feminists tend not to be very happy people. Have you ever spoken to a feminist? They're angry, miserable people. I mean, all of them. They're always perpetually angry and looking for a fight and a chip on their shoulder. It's not making them happier. You know, whereas if you look at women who are wives and mothers first, and again, they're not slaves, nobody's abusing them or dominating them, but when they're running a home and they're running a family, and they may be doing things outside the home as well, but they're comfortable being a real woman, those are happy, content people. And you see that they love their husband, and the husband loves them. There's real love in that marriage. If feminists see the man as a threat, the man is going to take away the good life that I have, the man is this potential enemy, you know? Yeah, it makes women miserable. I mean, it's not bad for the men as much as it's bad for the women. Why would a woman want to be a feminist and buy into that? It's only going to make you miserable, and you're probably never going to get married. And if you have kids, it'll be as a single mother, and you're going to grow old alone. Your children are probably going to hate you anyway. And just your whole life is going to be horrible. But you'll have a great job, and you'll have some money in the bank, but you're going to be a miserable person. You're going to grow old alone. I don't know why women would even want that. I don't see what feminism is even offering women that makes them happy. I don't even get the sales pitch, honestly.
Well, that's going to lead into our final question is, I have different theories about this, but where do you think feminism originated?
It originated from goyim, communists. I mean, it's bad. It didn't originate from Jews. It's like everything else. The goyim starts something up, and then
secular Jews, these
yeah.
Steinem, Schweinem.
Yeah. It comes from the anti-Jewish people, the anti-Torah people, and then the Orthodox Jews kind of kosher it, say, hey, we can put a Torah spin on it. You know, we'll make something good out of it. It always comes from the goyim. Old school Jewish women. I mean, if we're talking about the Torah, the women of the Torah were accomplished people, but they were modest. They were not trying to outdo the men. They weren't trying to take the place of the men. Even Devorah, they all point to Devorah as being the shofet, the shofetes, according to the Gemara. It wasn't exactly the same way. She was answering questions. She wasn't dominating the men. She was kind of private, off to the side. People would come to her and ask her questions in a very modest way. She wasn't this hi-ho, I'm the head chief judge. It wasn't like that. The women were very, very accomplished, but in a very modest way. Kol kvoda bas melech panima, the Torah says. They were wives and mothers first. They desperately wanted to have children more than anything else. They didn't want to get married later in life and then have children afterwards. They desperately wanted to have children. They desperately wanted to get married and be an ezer, to be an ezer to their husbands in the truest sense. So that's the Jewish model of a woman. And these were not dominated people. These were people that were highly accomplished, but they were happy people and they were real women. The feminists are not real women. They're some kind of a alien creature that's really a threat to all of the human race, because if we don't have women bearing children and raising families, everything falls apart.
All right, so complaints, go to Conor Weissman at Facebook.
And
All
the
right.
madness at gmail.com.
All right, let's promote
Open
your
24 hours a day.
Let's promote your book, How to Not Get Married. Break these rules and you have a chance. So with illustrations by Avi Katz. So where can people pick up this book?
They can pick it up from me directly. I have copies in Israel. They can buy it on Amazon. Pomeranz Booksellers has it as well. Some other websites might have it, but if you're in Israel, you're able to get copies straight from me, or you can get on Amazon.
They're screaming at us from Mincha.
It's good
Yeah.
stuff. I davened already. What can I do?
I could-
Minion. They don't have a minion.
I can go help them.
Yeah, we can help them out.
All right. Well, that's a great way to end the show by going to Minion. This is the Ari Lewis Show, IsraelSportsNewsRadio.com, also the YouTube channel, The Nation of Israel. Our guest this evening has been Rabbi Conor Weissman. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
And we look forward to the next time. And thank you, everyone, for watching. God bless and good night.